Hey there, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks starts in 5 minutes. Find Winning at Life basically everywhere. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Periscope, Twitch, Dailymotion, DLive, Smashcast, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Castro, Podomatic, Overcast. Did I say Spotify? I think I said Spotify. Anyway, we're everywhere. We prefer you listen on the Winning at Life app, and you can use that app to find us on your preferred platform. Stand by, the show's starting soon. Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks starts in 4 minutes. If you're interested in learning more about money and the financial world, have you checked out the Ask Gregory podcast? The Ask Gregory podcast has financial topics covering everything from how to handle your 401k, to Social Security rules, to student loans, to precious metals. It's all the best segments that we've done on Winning at Life, and we condense down into specific topics by episode. So if you want to know more about money and investing and retirement, that's a great place to start. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, iHeartRadio, Spotify, podcast app on your phone, and about 1,000 other places. I mean, don't go do it right now because the show's about to start, so just sit tight. Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks starts in 3 minutes. Hey, I'm your co-host, James Parker. You can find contact info to some of our show partners, including the Total Wealth Authority, on the Winning at Life app. If you're looking for a financial advisor, start your search with Gregory Ricks and Associates. If you have a mortgage issue, try Dwayne Stein at Mortgage Gumbo. If you have tax issues, try Jude Heath, CPA. And if you have some estate planning questions, try Wes Blanchard. These are all members of the Total Wealth Authority. You hear them on the show on a regular basis, and they're all linked on the Winning at Life app. Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is starting in 2 minutes. You can listen to previous shows on demand with the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Spotify, whatever. It's just the Winning at Life podcast. Now, that's different than the Ask Gregory podcast. The Ask Gregory podcast is episodes sorted by topic. If you just want to hear recent shows on demand, like yesterday's show or the show from Saturday, that's the Winning at Life podcast. It's available everywhere as well. The Winning at Life app, iHeartRadio app, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, the whole drill. Hey, why aren't you already following Winning at Life on all of our social media platforms? You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Periscope, Twitch, Dailymotion, DLive. All these places are linked directly on the Winning at Life app. So download the Winning at Life app, whatever platform you prefer. Find us there. We'll come to you. Stand by. Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is going to start in just a moment. Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks starts in 1 minute. Have you downloaded the Winning at Life app? You can listen to the show live. You can also watch the video version of the show live, or you can listen or watch to recent shows of Winning at Life on demand. There's no cost to you. It's in your app store, the Winning at Life app. Welcome to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. I'm your co-host, James Parker. Thanks for hanging out with us today. Stand by. The show is about to begin.
Hey, y'all. You're listening to Winning at Life, live financial news talk radio. I'm your host, Gregory Ricks. We've been doing this for you, 11 and a half years about now.
Forever.
Oh, no, that's not. Is that positive?
Well, no, it's positive in the fact that when this show started, I had 0 children. Now I have 4, and the youngest is 6. They have never known a world without Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Well, that's a good thing then. Yes, if you'd like to join the conversation, it's live financial news talk radio. We've got some subjects to cover with you. We've got Wes Blanchard, estate planning attorney, joining us in the second hour of the 3 hours we're on this morning, this being the first hour. And at the 11 o'clock hour, he's going to join us, and we're going to talk about estate planning. And I'm going to have a discussion with you in the first hour about executor duties, but then we're going to run some of that by him in the second hour for his take on it. I just think it's something that you might not want to be because of all the responsibilities of that. So we'll be talking with Wes about that in the second hour. Throughout the entire morning, we can talk about money, your 401k, stocks, investments. How about exchange traded funds, tax treatments of those, Social Security? I've got some tips to give you that this morning in the first hour. So join the conversation. It's 504-2600-995. And once again, we've been doing this for over 11 years, and that's one of the biggest impacts of the show, I believe, is you, the listener, participating in the show by calling and asking questions. You can also connect to us through the Winning at Life app. If you don't have it, it might become your smartphone's favorite app, just saying. You can text, email, call the show through it. It connects you to the Winning at Life Nation, where you'll get updates on what's going on, as well as you can connect to the Ask Gregory podcast, as well as replays of the show. And so Saturday, we're here from 10 to 1 with you. Weeknights, we do this at 7 if you want to connect to us on the weeknight show. And another great idea is share the show with friends. Our objective here is to help you make better decisions with your money and ultimately reach that financial destination that you wish to arrive at. One thing people think is maybe it's too late to get started. They don't have enough time, don't have enough money. So some of the things we talk about is helping you reach those decisions better. And one of the things I always like to say is you do have time to impact what you have saved, and it may not, it may not be enough. And you might not have anything there. So a couple thoughts on that. Once again, the phone number is 504-260-0995. Couple thoughts on that. First off, the core thing is creating some emergency savings. And once again, that might not be enough, but a few grand is much better than nothing when that surprise happens, or damage to the car, damage to the house, AC breaks, need a new set of tires, or a health emergency. A few grand makes a big difference versus nothing, or having to throw it on a credit card. And a credit card is not emergency fund. Your home equity is not an emergency. So that's where you start, by at least getting a few grand set aside, then start building on top of that. And depending on your situation, your horizon, when you're going to need the money, will help determine how you save above the emergency amount, as well as invest that money. And we're going to talk more about that this morning.
Let's go ahead and jump in the phones. Jason and Laranja, you're first up on Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. How can we help you, Jason?
Well, I appreciate you taking my call, and I'm set to inherit some stocks, some shares of Dominion Energy. It's about right around 900 shares, and I don't know how to go about the tax thing, or if I got to pay capital gains tax on the entire amount, or if I leave it in an account or swap it over to my own broker and just collect the dividends. I just don't understand what would be the best way to go about the tax issue on it.
Well, let's talk about how you're inheriting. How did you become aware that you're going to receive ownership of these stocks?
Well, we're doing succession of an estate, and that would be my share of the estate.
Okay. So from what you understand, there's other beneficiaries of this estate. So there's people other than you that's getting some of this stock, correct?
Yes, sir. One other person.
Okay. So this money's already in a brokerage. Is it stock that's in a brokerage account, or is it stock that's inside of an IRA?
No, I believe it's just a brokerage account.
Okay.
I'm not real sure. I know the attorney, we've already done all the paperwork to do the split. And the way I understand it is they're just going to split it in that brokerage and basically make me and the other beneficiary an account with them. And then I can choose to transfer them to my own brokerage if I'd like.
Okay. Here's some thoughts on that. And that's actually how it should be done, is you and the other Benny, that's inheriting the and we're referring to it as non-qualified money because it's not an IRA, Roth, 401k, any of that. So you're setting up an account, and typically what happens is they'll split those shares up. And let's just say hypothetically there's 1,800 shares. You're getting 900 and the other person's getting 900. So those shares should be moved to your account. And from a tax consequences standpoint, when did this person pass away? What month? Was it this year?
It was in August.
Okay.
August 17th.
Okay. So that simplifies it also, because actually what you're inheriting is going to be what's called a step-up basis, meaning it doesn't matter what he paid. That person could have paid $2 for the stock, and it could be worth $100 a share now. But when you inherit it, you're inheriting the value of that stock on their date of death with a step-up basis. And that's one thing you need to go back and look at. What was the value of that stock on the date of death? Because that is going to become your cost basis. So, for example, if you inherited it, when you inherit that, the date of death was worth $100 a share, and you, a few months from now, decide to sell it, and let's say it's at $120 a share. Your tax liability or capital gains going to be based on that $20 increase in value, not the $2 that he paid for it. So you don't have any tax liability of inheriting it. Taxes will come due when you sell it, but that'll be dependent upon the new step-up basis, and it's really important that you understand that and keep track of that. And let the brokerage firm know that value. It should be set up in their system, the correct cost basis of that stock. Was there any other property like real estate or anything?
No, sir.
Okay.
No. Everything else was really straightforward and simple. The only thing was a vehicle. And, I mean, this come from her other inheritance from my grandmother, and she just left it in there for the dividends. And like I said, if I was going to do the same thing just with a different brokerage, not necessarily sell them, but because I have stock with another account, so I would prefer to transfer it into that other company just to keep everything in one company.
You could do that.
Just transferring it.
There's another consideration. of separate property. I'm not going to get into you're married or not and how that goes, but there's this also consideration of separate property from an inheritance standpoint. But yeah, if it's stock and you're holding some other stock in another non-qualified account, yeah, you can move that together. Just make sure you, once again, keep up with your cost basis, and that'll simplify life going forward. Thanks for the call, Jason.
So that would be all right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Well done. That's a successful first call. Way to kick off the show there. If you want to be next, 504-260-0995. You can also give us a call or text from the front screen of the Winning at Life app. Do you like the idea of him maybe combining that with his current portfolio? He said he wants to have everything in just one company, so it's easier to keep up with.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. Why have multiple accounts? Have some stock in one account here, stock in another account there. No, get it all together. It's non-qualified stock. It doesn't matter how he obtained that because that's dealt with on the proper cost basis being shown in the account where it's at. Even if that's not right, it's ultimately his responsibility to keep up with it, because when he does sell it, that's got to be noted on the tax return. There's a form for that with the IRS, and they're going to want to know what the cost basis was, what the selling price was, and go through, then it'll go through, is that a short or long-term capital gain? And the capital gain tax will be subject to his income overall.
Man, a lot to cover just for inheriting stock. Paperwork and taxes and appraisals, and it's a lot to keep track of.
It's similar to real estate, that you've got to know what the value of that house was, date of death. Not when you inherit it, but date of death is what the step-up basis is based upon. And if you are going to inherit some real estate or portion thereof, along with maybe other family members or other parties, is make sure of what that value is. So when you sell it, you know what your cost basis is. So on real estate, you probably should get an appraisal so that you have some paper noting it, because you go and this is another thing we can talk to Wes about, but getting through that succession, getting through that probate is not put that off. And we're going to talk about that more as well.
504-260-0995. I'm James Parker. We're Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Ask Gregory is a financial podcast from the guys who bring you Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
I am near retirement, and I wish I would have been listening to y'all for the last couple of years.
Learn the ins, outs, do's, don'ts, rules, and tools of the financial world.
Hey, I love your show.
Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
What's cooking, Gumbo Nation? This is Dwayne Stein. For 7 years, listeners have allowed me to be their voice to providing education and options weekly and become a trusted resource for their home financing. I want to do that for you. The hardest part of my job is trying to right other lenders wrong. So don't get schmuckatelli. Visit snapsendandsave.com. You deserve better, and let us get it right for you the first time. Visit snapsendandsave.com.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can hear the Ask Gregory podcast, where you'll find episodes based on a financial topic. So if you're looking for help on a specific situation, there's a good chance you'll find it on the Ask Gregory podcast, including episodes on 401ks, taxes, stocks, Social Security, gold, and whether or not you should buy an RV. Hear the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Half of estate planning is having a plan put together for your loved ones when you pass away. The other half of estate planning is dealing with someone else's plan when they pass away. Sometimes they have a great plan, but sometimes you need a little help. Don't leave your loved ones in a bind. Call me, and we'll make sure you have a plan. Hi, I'm Wes Blanchard, an estate planning attorney in Metairie. What's your plan? Find me at wjblanchardlaw.com.
The Ricks Report with Gregory Ricks.
What we found through history, looking at the past 90 years, most fund managers don't outperform or perform as well as the indexes. Using indexing, historicals teach us skew a higher return. And yes, there's bad stocks in the S&P 500 as it looks right now, and yet the index is up. I like to use indexed ETFs because those are much lower expense ratios. We try our best in managing our portfolios to avoid trading costs, and we know I've been doing this for 30 years. I've studied trading strategies. You're not going to outsmart the indexes. You may get lucky, you may get unlucky.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Find us on the Winning at Life app or winningatlife.com. Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
May we all know nothing ain't cool till you wear the new off the sound of a quarter rolling down.
Good morning. How you doing? Welcome to Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. You're listening to The Money Show. I don't know. You might be watching it if you're on one of our social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, DLive, Smashcast, one of those. But if you have a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, this is the show you call. Because the guy across from me, Gregory Ricks, financial advisor, loves answering your questions. And the amount of questions he's fielded is into the probably tens of thousands over his career. So even if you have a situation you think is odd, there's a good chance he's dealt with that or something similar to it. And if you think your question is too basic, go ahead and throw that notion right out the window. You roll down your window and then throw it out, because we like basic questions. There's a lot of people who are new to the show, and I understand it's kind of embarrassing if you got to ask, what does this word mean? It's not embarrassing. You just think that. No one's judging you. We all have to start somewhere, and we're actually real excited that people who are just now getting in to investing in the money world are already listening to our show. So 504-260-0995. Aside from having his day job and doing the radio show, he also does a lot of live events. One's coming up this Wednesday in Madisonville. It's on the North Shore in the New Orleans area at Keith Young's Steakhouse, 6:30 p.m. And this isn't just all about money. This is a wine, wisdom, and food experience. See, Gregory's combining three of his favorite things. I mean, if we could squeeze football in there, it would probably be the totality of all his favorite stuff. But you're not just getting a talk on finances and what Gregory does at his day job and how his firm's helping people like you. But there's a pairing of excellent wine and excellent food to go with it. So go check it out. 6:30 p.m. Wednesday in Madisonville, Keith Young Steakhouse. You sign up at GregoryRicks.com. You do have to make a reservation. Or you call the office 504-832-9200, 504-832-9200. All right. The events coming up after that, October 26th and October 28th in Baton Rouge. That one's going to be at Sullivan Steakhouse. We'll talk a little bit more about that as it gets closer, but it's the same sign-up info, GregoryRicks.com or 504-832-9200.
From a market number here, I have a couple of thoughts for you. Next week, and then go back 13 years. Well, let's call it a 13 years from Monday, this coming Monday. The single best trading day for the S&P 500 in the last 71 years. That's, if you're doing the math, that's since 1950 took place. 13 years ago this coming week. A gain of 11.58% total return in one trading day. How about that? Wealthiest families. Here's another stat for you. The top 5% of U.S. households own 71% of U.S. equities, while the top 20% of U.S. households own 93% of U.S. equities. That's the Federal Reserve helped us out with that information. This number is probably going to be pretty important to you. Inflation. You heard of that? You felt it? Yeah, I think everybody has. Only people that are not aware of it are also the same ones that don't listen to the show. They're off the grid somewhere. The Consumer Price Index will be reported this coming Wednesday. For the trailing 12 months ending 8/31, inflation was up 5.3%, a level not seen over the course of a calendar year in 31 years. So where we are from a CPI, yeah, it's been 31 years since this amount of inflation has hit us. So a couple thoughts there on that. More to come.
You have any thoughts on the jobs report that came out this week?
Well, it depends on how you break it down. You know, some say it was a disappointment. It was a miss, but I don't think it was that big a miss of what some were saying there. But it's just kind of interesting. The bigger impact is the people, the reasons people are leaving the workforce and those not coming back into it is something to look at, is the shifting demographics of society here in the United States. And that's because people have done well, the market's done well, real estate's done well, and it's allowing some people to go ahead and opt out because they don't need to go to work. They've got enough money, or their real estate's worth enough that they don't have to go back to work. That is impacting our jobs numbers. So that's my thoughts on this reading.
That number, that headline number looks really good, though. 4.8% unemployment. But yeah, you got to dig around to find some ugly stuff. A lot of that is because over 300,000 people left the labor force and decided, I couldn't find a job. I'm going to stop looking. I'm just going to be unemployed from here on out.
Yeah. What my thoughts that I gave you is not representative of all of them, but I'm pretty sure it's impacting a portion of that.
4.8%. It's, I don't know. See, you have the balance here to where, is it so bad that they need to be passing $1 trillion stimulus packages when unemployment's at 4.8%?
Well, we weren't passing giant stimulus packages while Obama was president because unemployment was high.
Yeah, they did that one at the very beginning because we had the financial crisis.
You know, what was the unemployment number when Trump became president?
It was like 5%, 4.9.
Okay. Did we pass $1 trillion stimulus?
No, sure didn't.
You know, yeah, we need to let the marketplace. This, once again, the United States is not China. China, you know, wants to control and have a piece of everything and dictate and as of GDP, they have a lot more debt than the U.S. We don't need to go in that direction, and they need to let this play out and quit spending money like they stole it. I think that's one thing it comes down to, is just relax and start working on things that that is going to require some action. And I just think they've like, because of COVID and what happened to keep things going, and yeah, a lot of money was spent, probably more than what was needed. But on the other side, you could say, yeah, we probably locked down more and longer than was needed as well in hindsight. But it's always good, you know, easy to go back and look at, well, we could have done this, we should have done this. But okay, We spent the money, but that is not a green light to keep spending money like you stole it. I stole it. I got to spend it before they take it from me. We've seen that. We've covered stories in the news where some money shows up in somebody's account, and next thing you know, they bought a couple cars, went on a trip.
Yeah, I love those.
Yeah. You got to pay the piper at some point. We as a country are going to have to pay for all this easy money. And if we keep adding more onto it, it's just going to be a bigger thing we have to pay for down the road.
Yeah, and I think with the new spending packages that are coming through, something's going to pass, and you can forget about inflation being transitory. It might not go up as fast as it did this year, but those prices are not going to come back down. Maybe for a couple things like a used car or a 2x4, but in general, forget transitory. That was a hope.
Yeah, that was an early look at what's going on, and we're still seeing supply chain problems, and that's an impact on inflation where there's shortages. But these supply chain problems are not going away quickly. They're talking about how many containers yet to be unloaded at U.S. ports, and the reason is it's just all of a sudden now things started being shipped and moved, but there's not, and it's not that there's workers at the ports. They're there. It's just all this stuff's coming in, and there's no way to unload it faster than they absolutely can. So even that part is backed up, and it's going to take a while for this to sort out. We might not see normalcy in supply chains to, I think, earliest would be in 2023 to kind of feel like, okay, things are back to normal, catching up. It's just going to take a while because the demand's not there. The demand is put off. So the demand's still there, and we're falling in more. We're going to have to wait months for things, but it's going to take a while, and so that's going to keep inflation. When I come back, I'm going to give you some warning signs that Jeremy Siegel has signaled.
All right, and if you got a question for Gregory, phone lines are open, 504-260-0995. That's 504-260-0995. Or you can give us a call or text from the front screen of the Winning at Life app. I'm James Parker. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks. Hey, James Parker here from Winning at Life. Something that's come up on the show over the last 10 years is that if you're not at your old job, maybe your 401k shouldn't be either. But do you really know why we say that? It's a funny thing. We put a few $100 in our 401k every month. It ends up to be thousands of dollars every year, hundreds of thousands of dollars over our career, and you don't really know that much about it. How do you invest it? How do you diversify? What do you buy? What do you avoid? If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, ask Gregory. Ask Gregory is our new podcast with these financial topics broken down into specific little chunks. So if you have a financial situation or you just want to learn more about money, ask Gregory. Find the Ask Gregory podcast on the Winning at Life app, the iHeartRadio app, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, and Spotify.
And I want to thank you for all of your help.
That's exactly what I needed to know.
Investment advisory services offered through AE Wealth Management, LLC.
2 questions. Do you have a pulse? Do you own anything? If you said yes to both, you probably need a will. You may even need a trust. We all know a lawyer. Do you know someone who specializes in estate planning? Do you really trust the husband of your sister's friend from college? Or would you feel better putting your family in the hands of the estate planning attorney of the Total Wealth Authority? I'm Wes Blanchard. What's your plan? Offices in Metairie and at wjblanchardlaw.com.
Most people think of Crime Stoppers as only a tip reporting line, but we're so much more. Crime Stoppers GNO has worked in our area schools, offering prevention presentations on trending topics from drugs, bullying, online safety, suicide prevention, and much more. And we have a high school teen leadership program which provides students with a first-hand look at the criminal justice profession as a future career, while learning to be an advocate for their fellow students. So to learn more, visit safeschoolsla.com or call 504-837-8477.
If you like money, you'll love the Winning at Life app. On the Winning at Life app, you can listen to the show live 6 days a week. And if we're not on at the moment, you can hear a replay of the latest episode of Winning at Life. Whether you're getting a late start on your retirement savings or keeping up with the financial news, Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is there on demand. Hear the Winning at Life show on the Winning at Life app, your wallet's favorite app.
Fox News, I'm Jared McHugh. Growing concern over the cost of living has everyone from your own house to the White House worried.
Today, AAA reporting the national average for a gallon of gas at $3.27 compared to where we were a year ago is at $2.19, so they're more than $1 year over year. If you've been to the grocery store, you know this. Prices on a ton of household items have gone up on everything from bacon to milk, and the White House admits it knows Americans are concerned about inflation coast to coast.
Fox's Mark Meredith. As the Secretary of State and other members of the Biden administration met with Mexican officials Friday to discuss border security, this GOP lawmaker got an up-close look for herself, and she's alarmed.
You know, these cartels are taking such advantage and are causing such harm to these families that are trying to come into the U.S. illegally. It is a very sad situation.
Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn on Fox. America is listening to Fox News.
Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks is a copyright of Down South Strategies for the private use of our audience. Any unauthorized use of this broadcast without express consent is prohibited. For podcasts, show information, and contacts to our sponsors, go to winningatlife.com or download the Winning at Life app. If you've got a financial situation and you're not quite sure what to do, you better call Gregory. We are Winning at Life with Gregory Ricks.
Hey, y'all. We're back. What an awesome weekend it is. Another weekend of football. I like me some football in the fall. And yeah, it flows into winter as well. Hopefully your team's doing well. If not, they still have time to get better, win some games. I've got me a $20 bet with a family member on Saints record, which I believe is going to be 9 losses, 8 wins. My whole point is they're going to, and it's not specific on that. It's just whether or not they have a winning record.
And you're a fan.
So, yeah, I'm a fan, but I also look at dead cap space in that. And so it's just a thought there. But hey, I'm not hating on anybody. And, you know, LSU has its struggles, and they don't have any dead cap space, so you can't go blaming it on that as well. But they have time to get better. But you know, some of the thing is in college, every game is a playoff game. The way I look at it, and then it's kind of like Clemson's out, LSU's out. You know, 2 losses pretty much dooms you. I think LSU did end up in a championship game years back with 2 losses there. That was a crazy year, but it gets super difficult there with 2 losses. So we were hearing on the break there that if you were listening to some of the news, is talking about inflation there, and I'd mentioned a few minutes ago. Inflation as of September 30th of this year using the Consumer Price Index. And once again, it's going to be reported on 10/13 for the trailing 12 months ending August 31st. Inflation was up 5.3%. So we're looking probably for a few more ticks up in that. One of the areas that impacts so many things, if not virtually everything. And that's oil prices. Oil prices have gone up 64% year to date. West Texas Intermediate crude has gone from $48.52 a barrel on December 31st to $79.35. There's probably two classes of people that might not have noticed. The ones off the grid are clueless of that. They live in the woods up in Oregon or somewhere, or North Mississippi or North Louisiana. There's a lot of forests there too. Okay, and these electric car owners that have
Right.
only electric cars, have not pulled up to a gas pump, is not aware. But there's so many